Hi GuavaBees, and welcome to another episode of the Dear GuavaBean podcast. Remember, submit your questions in the sandbox or on the website, and we could be answering yours in the next episode. I'm Francesca, and with me is Claire.
Hello.
And today's question is, Dear GuavaBean, can you recommend good sites where I can take online courses for freelancing? So I can probably think of several occasions where I personally have really wanted to strengthen my freelancing skills, and I do love online courses. I think especially as there's so many available these days. Are you a course taker, Claire? Do you kind of like that approach of taking these online courses? Because I feel like there's so many now, aren't there?
Yeah, there's so many now, but when I was starting, there were none, or at least none that I could find. Like 5 years ago when I was just getting started, I didn't see any good online courses for freelancing. So unfortunately, I didn't take any. And I don't know a ton of, because freelancing is so general, like if you're going to be a freelancer, it would almost be better to take a course in a specific industry that you want to get into. But there are websites like Skillshare, Udemy. I think Seth Godin has a really good freelancing course on Udemy. It's not free, of course, but like you can always go to those big platforms and find courses. But I don't think I've ever actually taken a freelancing course, funnily enough. Have you?
It's interesting because I agree. Obviously, like I started a long time ago freelancing. You're right, there wasn't really a lot around. In fact, the only things I can think of that are remotely anything to do with freelancing courses would be back when Upwork was Odesk, and they used to be like these tests that you would take, but they weren't really like certifications. They weren't really something you could use outside that platform. But as I say, there have been several occasions where I've wanted to do online courses, but as you said, I haven't really taken like freelancer courses because I think by the time these courses were around, I was already a freelancer. I already had clients, so I didn't have a need for that personally. When I think of freelancing courses, I agree with you. I think that it's important to maybe think less about something specifically to do with freelancing and more to do with the kind of work that you'll be undertaking. Now, obviously, this varies depending on the type of work you do. So, if you are a designer, you might want to take a design course. If you're a programmer, there are a ton of coding courses now online. Like these, I would say these are probably the most popular ones. But I think it's probably best to focus on strengthening your skills that are going to help you deliver results for your clients, basically. And that can depend really on what you do. I mean, you may want to move into a new industry. Perhaps if you've been in a traditional job before and you want to strengthen those skills, that can be a good idea. Or if you want to move into something new, that can also be a great time to use courses. Now, you've mentioned a couple of sites that I'm aware of as well. There's obviously Code Academy. There's Google Digital Garage, which is one I found really recently. I posted it in the sandbox. That has got a ton of courses on there. There's even a certification in digital marketing, which I think most freelancers can benefit from. Like that is a huge advantage to have. If you understand marketing, it's big. It can help your business. It can help your client's business. Also, I mean, like I say, it really depends on the industry you're in, but Canva actually offer a course. Now, I know when you think of Canva, you think of design, and you might think their courses are specifically for designers, but they're not. Actually, they've got a school, like a design school, but actually a lot of their courses are focused on branding your own small business and understanding how to create your personality and your logo and things through design. So actually it is catered more towards any freelancer or small business owner, which I find really interesting, and they're free as well. So Claire, obviously I know you've not really taken online courses before, but I know obviously a lot of people may follow other freelancers or small business owners that they really look up to. There are a lot of people that run their own businesses that we take a lot of inspiration from as freelancers, especially as we're getting started. It can be useful as well, and I don't know if you've considered this as well, Claire, but to actually look in maybe private Facebook groups. Some of these can be paid, they could be membership groups, and often these people who are running running their businesses show other freelancers how to do it. And they're often offering their own courses on their own websites. So sometimes these aren't like on course platforms as we may think about it, but it's worth maybe having a look. Maybe there's certain blogs you follow, maybe there's certain books you've bought by people that you really admire in your industry, and they often have courses available as well, don't they? I know several people that do this.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of the best courses come from. Like if I had to recommend a course, I would recommend a course created by a freelancer. There's a few, like you said, in groups. Some people have their own courses. I know, offhand, like a good virtual assistant who has a great VA course. I know a fantastic copywriter who is in the process of making a really great copywriting course. I know a project manager who's making a project management course. So there are freelancers out there who become experts in their niche, and then they create a course that shows you exactly how to do it. If I were to take a course or to recommend a course, I would say, find someone who's doing what you want to do and see if they have an online course. Find an experienced freelancer in your niche and then try to look for those courses. Because I think when you learn from someone who has that experience, that kind of hands-on real life experience, you'll get a course that is very specific to what you need to learn. If you just did a freelancing course, you could be learning about all sorts of stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to you. Different industries work differently, and you get clients differently. So learning something general, I think, is you could end up spending a lot more time learning a lot more random things that may not be useful to you. I think it would be better to find someone who teaches that specific skill. And I understand if you're just getting started, it's probably hard to find exactly what you want to do and what kind of course that you want to take. But, you can always ask around and see what other people are taking, what other online courses people are doing. I've done online courses, but I've just never done one for freelancing because it seems like such a broad topic. I've done online courses for like copywriting or for chatbots, for Facebook chatbots, for this and that, for little skills here and there. Have you done any like marketing courses or specific courses for certain skills?
Yeah. So I've done creative writing, content marketing, digital marketing, coding. I've done a lot of I've done a lot of specific ones. I actually think another good one is the Hubspot content marketing course, because again, like obviously I have been a writer by my freelancing business. That's what I've offered, but I actually think as a benefit to all freelancers, that's a great one to have because it helps you figure out a lot about your own branding and figuring out what you want. So it's sort of like a byproduct of that one. So that's another one I would suggest. But yeah, to be honest with you, Claire, I agree. I think another benefit of actually learning specifically from freelancers who are offering these courses, as opposed to just going and looking for a generic freelancer course, is that you often have this community focus as well. So often with these courses, you also get a group as part of that course, whereas like the bigger sites don't really have that. They might have like a Q&A section, but they don't really have that sort of long-lasting community aspect to it, which I think is really important. You learn so much from other people in the industry or other people learning at the same level as you. So I think that's another benefit. Now, obviously, I know, Claire, you mentioned that when you're first starting out, you might not know where to find these courses. And I think a good place to start would be, as you mentioned, look at people who are maybe running blogs. Like I find a lot of good courses start from, a blog that you visit frequently for advice and tips and stuff, when you're building your freelance business. I think ryrob.com is a great one. He teaches you how to start your own business and validate it. He does talk about blogging as well. So if you're not a blogger, some of that stuff isn't relevant. But there's blogs are often a good way to get on a mailing list. So then you start getting all of their good information in your inbox. But then often these then lead to I have this course that's really going to help you, and you can get in that way. So that can be a really good way of kind of staying sort of in the know on courses that might be coming up. There's a lot of good ones. I know that Carol Tice, if you're a writer, I've been a member of her group, and I think it's Make a Living Writing. I think that's what the course is called, but I do know that's what her website is called. That's another great one if you're a writer. That is a paid one, but the community is really good, and it only opens up a couple of times a year, I think, so it's worth getting on her mailing list too. Again, like, that's just to me, that just shows that, like, that is the way to go. I think if you want to find good courses, is getting in on these people's mailing lists and figuring out where to go from there. As you mentioned as well, Claire, some freelancing courses can be a little generic. I think if you are starting out and you really don't know what niche to go in yet, so we've talked a lot about different industries and stuff and courses that might be suitable, but if you really don't know where to start, the best thing is to get into a good freelancing community like the Sandbox or just the GUAVABEAN Facebook group, because you will learn a lot from other freelancers, and then you'll figure out what courses you need to do. I think that a community is a good place to start. It's a solid place, because not only are you going to learn other courses that people already take and will sort of recommend to you, but you just learn from other people anyway. I think that's another benefit that can't be overlooked, really. It's just that community aspect. You do learn a lot from people. And it's so readily available now that you can just talk to a lot of different people. Some might be in the industry you're interested in, some might be in something you've never considered in, but you can always learn something from everyone, I think.
And there are some good general courses out there. I can definitely recommend Seth Godin's course. It is a good basics. Like, there are some good beginner courses that will give you a foundation that everybody should have in freelancing. Like, they won't teach you specific skills like copywriting or graphic design, but you can learn basic skills like how to pitch yourself, how to write good proposals, how to price your services. There are some like foundational skills in freelancing that you can learn from general courses. Seth Godin has a good one that I'll put in the comments. I actually bought that course. I never went all the way through it, but a lot of the stuff that he teaches is applicable, to anyone in any kind of field. And then also, like you were saying about the community, that reminds me, we have a starter course inside the Sandbox, and there's a community that goes along with it, and that community part is huge because you need someone to ask questions when you get stuck. You need to see other people kind of going through the course with you and to see their experiences. You can learn from them as you go through the course together. So if you can find any kind of course that has a community where you can go through it together with people, there's a lot of learning, like you said, to be had with that community aspect. And so, of course, answering this question, I definitely recommend, if people want that general course that gives you like a foundation in freelancing and gives you the first steps to get started, I'll put the link to the GUAVABEAN starter course that's inside the Freelancer Sandbox, and it comes with the community and everything. But again, that will give you a general foundation. It's not going to teach you how to be a copywriter or how to be a graphic designer or how to be a project manager. So if you're looking to learn a specific skill, then you'll need to find a specific online course. You'll need to know exactly what skill you want to learn, and then ask the right question to get the right recommendations. If you're just asking for like a general freelancing course, there's not a lot of really great general freelancing courses out there. We have an introduction course, but it is just an introduction. So if you want to continue and get like really deep into any particular area of freelancing, I think we should put together maybe a resource with like all the best courses and links for this type of thing, and maybe we can include that in this episode. And there's so many great places to look for courses, and it just reminds me, inside the Freelancer Sandbox we have those 5 circles, the Tech Ninja, Word Wizard, Master Organizer, and inside each one of those we put certain courses and links that are relevant to those jobs. But again, there's like so much stuff out there that it's hard to filter it and to know exactly what is going to be the best recommendation for you unless you know exactly what you want to study and learn.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also depends not just like what you do and what your industry is or is going to be, but how you learn. A lot of courses, vary. Some are, you download a series of PDFs and you write down answers and you sort of check back and it's like an assessment. Like for example, I mentioned ryrob.com. He has a great business validation course, which is good for freelancers, but that's not video based at all. When I think of a course, I actually prefer video myself, a series of videos to watch and go along with. So again, really depends on the kind of course and the way you learn as well. But I love how you mentioned the starter course in the sandbox, of course, because that's amazing. And I would, in case anyone hasn't done this already, as like a side note, I think it's really important to do the quiz as well to figure out what kind of freelancer you are or what your skills are, especially if you're a beginning freelancer, because I think this is really enlightening and actually might show you your strengths and weaknesses that you might not even realize you have, and that will then help you lead on to the right courses for you too. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. I mean, I did it myself not that long ago, and I'm a tech ninja, and I didn't realize until I started reading all this stuff, and I'm like, actually, you know what, this is right, this is bang on. So it's worth doing, because you never know, what your skills are. You may focus on one kind of thing that you think you're really good at, and it will just open up these possibilities and actually help you figure out, actually, you can probably divert your attention to different kinds of courses and learn something new as well in the process. So worth a go. I love the idea of the resource, Claire. I'd love to put that together for the listeners, because I'm sure there's so many resources that we can think of and put together for people.
Yeah, there's a lot of good freelancers that I know that are putting together their online courses like right now. It takes people like quite a while until they get to a stage where they're like, okay, I'm ready to make a course and teach people about this kind of thing. Like usually they have to be doing it for 5, 6 years. They have to feel really confident in it. But when they do put out a course, they put everything into that course. I think freelancers, honestly, they make the best courses about freelancing because they've lived that experience. They know everything that goes into it. They've made all the mistakes, and they can share all of that knowledge that I think is extremely valuable. So if I were to take a course nowadays, I would definitely find a freelancer who knows what they're doing and enroll with them.
Yeah, I think that might also be why there aren't many sort of beginner freelance courses, like generic ones. And I think that's because a lot of what you learn is what you're actually physically going out there and experiencing and doing yourself. I think, yeah, there are like basic things, like you said, that you can learn, just like basic skills or hard skills, but you learn a lot of the things that, the mistakes and like how to pitch and, what to do with a difficult client, all these kinds of things. I don't think someone can really teach you that. They can advise you. You can speak to a lot of people who can advise you, but I do think there's a lot of things you have to experience for yourself. It can't be taught in a course, just because that's the nature of it. You learn from your own experiences, and every freelancer deals with things differently, and that depends on a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, I think, again, like I just said, I think that's just why there aren't that many beginner generic freelancing courses out there. So that's why I would always, when I think of courses, I always think of like, okay, so what specific skills can you learn? But I guess it just, like I said before, it just depends on what you want to get out of a course, what you're expecting, and I guess what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I also think that people are so used to this idea of online courses that before they even start something, some people, they first think that they need to do an online course. And it's funny because, 5 years ago, this was not a thing. When you wanted to start something, you just asked questions, and then you started it and you learned as you go. But now everybody's like, can you recommend a good website? Can you recommend a good resource? Can you recommend a good course for this? Can you recommend a training for that? And I'm like, you don't really need all of this stuff. Like, definitely a good course can help you get there faster. It can cut down your learning curve, all of that. But there's so many people that I know now when I talk to them about freelancing and I know that they want to get started, and the first thing they say to me is like, where can I take a good online course for this? And I just want to tell them, like, you don't need to take an online course. I never took an online course. I just got started. There's plenty of places where you can go to find an online course, but I don't really think that just because there is all of that information out there doesn't mean that you need to be using it all or learning it all. Sometimes they can just even slow you down, and it costs you money, it costs you time. If you invest in the right course, it's the best investment. But there's a lot of courses out there that, could also just slow you down and take up a lot of time and money. So I would also just recommend, maybe don't take a course just for the sake of taking it. Only take a course when you really find a course that resonates with you and you feel like, yes, this is something that I need to learn. This is something that I really want to learn and I'm willing to invest to learn it, not just because you want to be a freelancer and you think you need to take an online course to learn how to freelance.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. I think I'm seeing a lot of this, and I think, like you said, because there's so much information out there now, I see this growing trend of people sort of almost procrastinating and using this information to procrastinate. So it's like, as soon as I find the perfect course, as soon as I've spent X amount of money on this will like validate me being a freelancer and I'm going to be amazing at it. But again, like going back to just, there's a lot of stuff you have to learn for yourself. Like nobody's going to like impart that knowledge without you having to experience it. You can't buy that knowledge. I think like you said, if you buy the right course, that can be an amazing investment, but you may not know what the right thing is yet, because especially if you're a new freelancer, you could spend a lot of money, yes, but you don't know what path you want to take yet. It could end up being a waste of money if you decide that you're in the wrong niche or you don't like freelancing. There's a lot of stuff to consider, and I do think sometimes it's made more complicated than it really needs to be. So I agree with you on that. I think, like, going back to like figuring out what you actually want from a course, like if it's just to say, okay, once I've taken the course, that means I'm going to be a great freelancer. Well, not necessarily. I think it's okay to take courses, especially if you want to experience like the free courses that are out there. That can be a good starting point to see if you even like taking a course or to see if they're even helpful. Without like, because then you're only like spending your time, you're not emptying your bank balance as well. Like, it's difficult to sort of, for us to say when is the right time to take a course, because everyone's different. But yeah, like you said, just try not to use a course as an excuse not to just jump into your business, because I think that's what a lot of people do, and that probably sounds a little harsh, but I do think it's true. We don't have to spend money in order to be a successful freelancer. You didn't, I didn't, you just did it. And I think that we're very lucky to have the information we have, but it can be very distracting as well. So try and make a good, sensible decision based on what you actually want, not what people are trying to push you to like buy or telling you that you need this course because that's the only way you can be a freelancer. It isn't.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The other thing I'll just end with is, if you are going to buy a course, I always just recommend buying from someone that you trust. Maybe experience their free content first, like get on their newsletter to check out any free content that they have, and that will give you a taste of like what their course will be like if they put a lot of effort into their free content and they deliver like really valuable tips and it's not just fluff. Then that gives you a clue, like, okay, their paid content is going to be even better if their free content is this good. So before I purchase anything, especially an online course, because you're going to be learning from that person, I want to know what that person is like first. I don't just take a course because somebody recommends it. I have to get to know the person or the company behind the course and get a taste of what their free content is like so that I can decide if the paid content is going to be worth the investment. So that's just the other thing I can say. Like, if you're worried about losing the time and the money, the one way that you can kind of make sure you get the right course for you is by only taking courses with people that you trust.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the Dear Guava Bean podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Guava Bean on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for updates and new episodes. As always, our goal is to empower you with the information, inspiration, and direction you need to achieve financial freedom through online work. For more content like this, join us in the Guava Bean Freelancer Toolbox. Just go to guavabean.com to start your free trial now. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. See you in the next episode.